House of the Dragon's Season 1 finale dropped a few days ago, and it's absolutely insane. But did we really expect anything different from a Game of Thrones prequel? Want to find out the shocking move mirroring the greatest season of Game of Thrones? You're in the right place. We'll be discussing it in today's video and everything we know about Season 2. Let's get right into it. First up, House of the Dragon mirrors the greatest sin of the Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones has its fair share of crazy people, especially the mad queens and princesses, and we saw the latest episode follow the same pattern. Rhaenys finally got the big and dramatic moment she wanted. She burst through the bottom of the Dragonpit, grabbing everyone's attention, delivering a huge middle finger to Team Green, starting the Targaryen civil war, and loudly declaring her support for Rhaenyra sums up everything she did after bursting through. We're surprised she didn't burn Alicent and her son Aegon, who no one likes, but her actions were too harsh. Not that we aren't used to it, but it'll carry huge consequences, especially for her family, the crown in general, and for the realm at large. This is the kind of scene that Game of Thrones is famous for, and in a prequel we get it. But that doesn't mean that it makes sense. Her actions don't align with how her character had been framed throughout the season. What she did was reckless and cruel, to say the least. She spared Alicent and the sons, but how do we call that an act of mercy? Don't agree with us? Count all the dozens, if not hundreds of civilians who lost their lives because of the dragon's rampage. Now, if you've been watching the original show, you're no stranger to crazy and reckless characters. We're literally desensitized to many crimes at this point because of it, but we did not see this one coming, and we don't mean that in a good way. Moving on, character development is a huge problem. Throughout the season, there was not even a slight indication that Rhaenys could do such a thing. She was portrayed as an astute and strategic character, and a political person with the way she's shown to be. This little party trick just seemed forced. Also, the show could have a big moment leading into the finale, and something to kick off the Dance of the Dragons. But was it worth it to destroy the character's development? Now her little moment reminds us of something else. The weird decision mirrored a certain other Targaryen woman's shift civilians. For many years now, fans have debated the final season of Game of Thrones and how it completely jumbled up the development of Daenerys Targaryen's character. Just to remind those who haven't seen or don't remember, she went from being a sympathetic young hero to a literal tyrant civilians. After suffering major losses, she turned into a full mad queen, raining dragonfire on the peasants. But what's surprising is that she would have stood up for them before her breakdown. Daenerys had been seen with that chaos and rage in her blood, but it was always directed at slavers or those in power who stood in her path. Burning many civilians and innocent people for no reason makes zero sense and serves no emotional justification. Fans joked that after these final couple of episodes, HBO will watch their subscriber count go down because of the trauma. Up next, these parallels need to be tweaked. Fans think that this parallel was done on purpose. The showrunner did it so the plots or characters could be linked in a way. If you think about it, both Daenerys and the Queen Who Never Was racked up some pretty heavy losses. The amount of traumas they have is just a lot, but those don't work as character development, at least not this often. The audience feels like it's not a valid reason to flip the switch and flip out. What House of the Dragon should have done is that they should have hinted at it, or shown a few loose screws to justify the rampage beyond a few concerned looks. The entire show has scenes that deserve concerned looks. Fans wondered how their favorite character ended up being a sort of villain and whisked away innocent lives like it was nothing. Another was the additions of the showrunners. We know that Game of Thrones had to sort of invent its own ending since the writer, George R.R. Martin, still hasn't written an ending for it. So Rhaenys' rebellious act wasn't in the book Fire and Blood. The showrunners took advantage and aligned their desired plot and pieced together their own ideas for it. They gave us some fiery dragon action too. While many fans adore the show nonetheless, the more devoted ones love the latter, but don't appreciate the action without any justification. Others believe that Rhaenys made a smart political move, which is her thing, by breaking off Aegon's coronation and reasserting her power despite not being a kingslayer. Coming up, the showrunners' decision for this action. Both the showrunners for House of the Dragon have come out to explain the thinking process behind Rhaenys' decision, both bursting through the Dragonpit and sparing the lives lives of the Hightowers. Miguel Sapochnik said that he wanted to add meat to the character. It felt like a valuable moment for her to bear witness to something instead of her passive stances, to be an active part of something and to get in the middle of it. But her moral inclinations were the reason for her inaction rather than her action. Ryan Condal opened up that she knows that burning that dais will end all possibilities of war and bring peace, but can't do that to another mother. It's a complex choice that people will have issues with, but it's the route she took. For the character, it was a heroic moment. Eve Best, who plays Rhaenys, did a brilliant job playing her character. She told Entertainment Weekly that it's the most merciful and the most graceful act in a way. Her character is intelligent and chooses to do the right thing in the end, which is not to destroy. But the writers definitely need to find something different to bring to the table than the same trauma, flip, and people plotline. A careful and measured character should do something more cunning and researched than reckless, something that blows our minds and makes us go, oh. They have to switch from making it all about aligning the plot and moving the chess pieces to something with more substance. Now, while the season has come to an end, here's everything we know about Season 2. House of the Dragon was renewed for another season before the second episode of the series even aired. HBO wanted another hit after the ending of Game of Thrones. To revive such an iconic universe just seemed like the right move, and it's apparently doing well to make us forget about that season. You know, that last season of Game of Thrones? So we know that Season 2 is definitely coming. Here's everything we know about Season 2 of House of the Dragon through Ryan Condal, starting with his first reveal. Condal said that the plot and narrative of the first season were slowed down on purpose. This was so the fans could adapt to the characters and build a relationship with them. In fact, he argued that it should have been slower. It moved too fast, according to him, with all the jumps forward in time. He's the showrunner, so he could have run it slower, we suppose. But he said that before throwing these people into wars and more complicated issues, it's good that the audience knows about them and how they work. Now, what else did he say? The showrunner then gave some good news to the fans. He said that the show will shift to what the middle few seasons of Game of Thrones were like, which fans would argue was the best era of the entire series. Season 2 will join the same rhythm, but it'll feel like tragedies weren't just out of the blue. They'll be more meaningful. Finally, it seems that they want to introduce the darker moments in more natural ways, with moments of levity. But that's a pretty tough stance to take without a character like Tyrion. Condal thinks that Matt Smith is hilarious, and Daemon might become the vessel for some comedy gold. To introduce dark humor, they might have to call the Gen Z kids. Might become too funny and too dark then, we suppose. Finally, some expectations we have. Toward the end of Season 1, Aemond killed Rhaenyra's son Luke. There's no turning back from something that severe. So with that, we expect Rhaenyra's husband, Daemon, will be the one who will try to get revenge for the Luke. It'll probably be a barbaric scene that ends up on the list for the most barbaric moments. We don't know if the story will wrap up in Season 2 alone. There's been no announcement, but Martin said that to do justice to his book, 4 full seasons are needed. So the victory can't be predicted or even imagined. It's the kind of show where everyone loses anyway. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think of the shocking reveal of House of the Dragon? What are your expectations from Season 2? Let us know in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.